Welcome back to Fate's Guardians. In our last episode, we left Nathan, Elijah, Freya, Adrian, and Milo in total darkness. Their fates about to intertwine under mysterious circumstances surrounding an ancient scroll. Today we delve deeper into the secrets of the Divine Five. But first, let's quickly recap what happened last week. The classroom at Rose Academy buzzed with the usual anticipation of a new lecture. The arrival of Freya Carrington, a new student with a captivating presence, caught the attention of both Nathan and Elijah. Soon after, Adrian Mickelson and Milo Green also piqued the interest of our friends with their distinctive auras. Professor Clark introduced an ancient scroll linked to the prophecy of the Divine Five, beckoning these 5 students to come closer and examine it. As their eyes met the ancient script, the lights began to flicker and suddenly went out, plunging the room into total darkness. As the darkness envelops them, a vision begins to unfold. What will they see? How will this experience change them? Let's find out.
Everyone, please remain calm. It's just a minor power outage. The lights should be back on shortly. Please remain seated.
Professor Clark knew this was so much more than a mere power outage. Despite the darkness enveloping the room, a different kind of light seemed to ignite before our guardians. Their physical surroundings faded, and a shared vision began to materialize. They were suddenly thrust into an ethereal battlefield, where angelic beings battled demonic forces. Above them, the sky lit up with otherworldly fireworks. The clashing of celestial swords and the roars of infernal creatures echoed around them. The air was electric with the energy of an epic clash between 2 mighty forces. Nathan looked around and saw Elijah and the 3 other students standing next to him.
Oh my god, is this real? Is anyone else seeing this right now?
Freya, unable to peel her eyes away from the supernatural scene playing out before her, responded with a voice steady yet filled with awe.
Yeah, I think this is real. As crazy as that sounds.
They found themselves standing side by side in the middle of an infernal landscape surrounded by a nightmarish scene of burning trees and crumbling buildings that were bathed in the eerie glow of crimson flames. The air was thick with the scent of smoke, making each breath a struggle. Above them, the celestial dance continued to unfold like something out of a movie, all while an eclipse cast an eerie, uncanny shadow over the scorched landscape. Angels, radiant and fierce, fought vicious demons. Their figures were illuminated by supernatural glows and smoky tendrils. They could feel the divine and infernal energies, the struggle between good and evil playing out not just around them, but through them. Elijah stepped forward, looking up at the sky.
We're definitely not in the classroom anymore.
The earth trembled beneath their feet and pulsated with unsettling energy. The ground quaked with a fury that mirrored the turmoil within the hearts of humanity as the supernatural beings locked in relentless combat. It was a battle between superheroes and supervillains, with every move of these celestial beings leaving streaks of brilliance across the darkened sky. Milo's eyes widened as he stared down at himself, then over towards the others.
Holy shit. Have you guys seen what we're wearing?
Turning towards each other, they saw themselves clad in radiant armor, each piece bearing a different symbol, glowing amidst the chaotic light of the battle overhead. Adrian, who had been silent up until now, looked down at the fire symbol emblazoned on her chest, beneath which was an Enochian word she couldn't decipher.
Why are we dressed like warriors?
Elijah, now looking at the symbol on his chest.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Suddenly they heard a powerful voice booming over the raging battle.
Embrace your destiny, for the battle has just begun.
Shocked and somewhat fearful, they exchanged glances, the gravity of the voice's command echoing in their minds.
Wait, what destiny? Oh my god, this can't be real. It can't be. This is a dream. We're hallucinating, aren't we?
Before anyone could answer, the vision slowly dissolved, and the classroom lights flickered back to life. The 5 students were once again standing in front of the scroll, the echoes of the battlefield now gone. The lights were only out for 5 seconds, but it felt like an eternity for the 5 students. They knew what they had experienced couldn't be real, but it inexplicably felt real.
Ah, there we are. It appears the power is restored.
But for the 5 students, reality had shifted. The shared vision, so intense and vivid, couldn't be dismissed as mere imagination. The unexpected blackout caused an obvious stir among the students, but no one seemed to notice anything strange or share the experience they just had. The group exchanged confused and alarmed glances. An unspoken bond was forged between them. They were undoubtedly tied together in this mystery. The professor worked to calm the humming students.
Settle down, everyone. There's nothing to worry about. As I've said, it was just a power outage.
As the class started to quiet down, Professor Clark turned to the group of 5 students standing before the scroll. A knowing glint flashed in his eyes. With a cryptic smile, he subtly gestured for them to return to their desks, leaving them to ponder the secrets he might be keeping.
Please return to your seats.
In somewhat of a daze, the 5 of them looked at the professor and then exchanged uncertain glances with each other before returning back to their desks. A student near the front of the room jokingly suggested that the blackout might be connected to the scroll.
Even though I know you're joking, young man, you may be onto something.
The class fell into a brief, stunned silence, all eyes fixed on the professor. Then he erupted into laughter. He took a moment to compose himself before continuing.
I'm only kidding. This school has been around since the early 1800s. There's bound to be a power outage now and then. It was nothing more than that.
A student quickly raised her hand.
Yes, go ahead with your question.
The scroll mentioned something about the enlightened institution having a crest. Doesn't that crest sound a lot like ours? The 5 elements, that is? Our school crest has 5 elements, just like the scroll mentioned.
Clark smiled as he settled into his desk.
I was wondering if anyone was going to notice that. You are correct. Our crest indeed features the 5 elements of life, similar to what the scroll mentions. However, many other schools have similar crests.
Freya, still recovering from the strange vision she had experienced, tentatively raised her hand.
All right, class. This will be our final question before we conclude. Ms. Carrington, is it?
Yes.
Please go ahead with your question.
Freya shifted uncomfortably in her seat before asking,
Have there been any reports or records of people seeing things after looking at the scroll?
Clark smiled, eyeing her carefully.
That's an interesting question, Ms. Carrington. I suppose it depends on what they reported seeing.
Freya, along with everyone else in the room, appeared puzzled by the response. Adrienne looked over at Freya, then back at the professor.
What exactly does that mean, Professor?
Standing up from his seat, the professor began packing up his belongings, signaling the end of the class. He looked over at Adrienne, a smile forming across his face.
That question will have to wait until next time, Ms. Mickelson. For now, our time for today has come to an end.
Nathan, seated next to Elijah, turned quickly. He appeared frantic but spoke in a hushed tone.
Please tell me I'm not crazy. You saw and felt that, right, Eli?
You're definitely not crazy. I saw and felt everything too. I think we all saw it. We need to talk to the others after class.
As Professor Clark concluded the lecture, he moved with precision to secure the ancient scroll within a leather-bound box, snapping the fasteners shut. He then stowed the box in a safe hidden beneath his desk, ensuring it was locked away from prying eyes. The bell rang, and with a sense of urgency, he gathered his belongings, clutching the briefcase tightly, and made a swift exit from the classroom. His eyes sparkled with secrets and a knowing purpose as he hurried away, leaving a trail of curious gazes behind. His students were left whispering among themselves, wondering about the mysterious urgency that had taken their professor. As the classroom emptied, the 5 students found themselves inadvertently pulled to each other, bound by their shared experience. They congregated by the large wooden desk at the front of the classroom. Elijah was the first to speak.
Hey.
Milo, leaning up against the desk, slowly nodded his head as he looked around the group.
Hey.
For a few seconds, they all stood in silence, still visibly shaken by what had just happened to them earlier. Adrienne finally broke the awkward silence.
So, I'm guessing we all stayed behind because of what happened after reading that scroll, right?
Nathan looked over at Elijah.
Yeah, that's why we stayed behind.
Elijah nodded his head.
Just to confirm, we all saw that, right?
Milo leaned forward.
You mean the angels and demons fighting in the sky? Or how we were dressed in armor? Or the random voice that said, "Embrace your destiny, for the battle has just begun"? Yeah, I sure as hell saw all that.
Freya leaned against the desk, her arms crossed and her brown eyes reflecting deep contemplation.
Yeah, I saw it as well. That was intense.
Nathan slowly nodded his head, his blue eyes clouded with concern.
Yeah, I saw and felt it too. That vision was...
Nathan's gaze shifted. His attention was drawn to a dark corner in the back of the classroom. A shadowy figure glided across the room, then abruptly stopped and turned to face him, exposing its ominous red eyes that glared back at him. The same fear that he had experienced earlier that day now flooded through him again, even more intense than before. He swallowed hard, his throat tight with a sudden grip of dread.
Do you guys see that?
He pointed towards the dark corner, his hand trembling slightly. The others turned to look, but there was nothing there. The ominous shadow had vanished as quickly as it had appeared. Elijah turned back to look at his friend with concern. Nathan blinked, his eyes searching the empty space where the figure once stood. The red eyes had burned into his soul, and even though they were gone, the menacing presence still lingered in his mind. He struggled to keep his composure.
There was someone, or something, watching us. Red eyes in the shadows. It was right over there.
Milo looked back over to where Nathan was indicating, then back at him.
Yeah, I don't see anything, buddy. There's nothing there.
But Nathan wasn't convinced. The encounter, brief yet terrifying, felt all too real. Too vivid to be a trick of the light or his imagination. Freya, looking at him with concern in her eyes, tried to ease his mind.
Maybe you're just shaken up from the vision. It was a lot for all of us.
Nathan looked at Freya, then at his best friend. Elijah's face suddenly became more serious after remembering what Nathan told him earlier at breakfast.
Or maybe Nathan did see something. I mean, come on. We all just had a shared vision of angels and demons. Who's to say what's real or not anymore?
The group fell silent, the weight of Elijah's words hanging in the air. They all knew something profound and inexplicable had happened to them. The boundaries of reality were not as solid as they once thought. Adrian nodded her head in agreement.
Well, we definitely didn't imagine that creepy-ass vision we all had. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like whatever's happening is just the beginning.
Milo interjected with a worried look.
Did anyone else notice how the professor seemed a bit off when the lights came back on? It's almost like he knew what happened.
Now that you mention it. Yeah. There was something in his eyes that hinted that he knew what was going on.
Well, based on how he responded to my question, I'm almost 100% sure he knows more than what he's saying. I'm Freya, by the way.
I'm Elijah.
The rest of the group then introduced themselves.
Either way, Professor Clark is the only person who may be able to tell us what's going on.
Nodding in agreement, a sense of unity formed among them. They knew they needed to get to the bottom of what had happened earlier. They agreed to meet up 30 minutes before their next class on Friday to discuss their approach to questioning Professor Clark about the events. As they left the classroom, Nathan cast one last look over his shoulder. The image of those red eyes seared into his memory, a stark reminder that their journey into the unknown was fraught with dangers seen and unseen. They each exited the classroom going their separate ways. As Clark navigated through the crowded corridors between the swirling sea of high school chatter and locker slams, his mind was a whirlpool of thoughts spiraling around the revelation that had transpired in his classroom. His mind replayed the abrupt blackout, accompanied by the peculiar aura of white light that had enshrouded the 5 students after they read the scroll. He alone had borne witness to it, which solidified his suspicions. It was all a sign he couldn't ignore. The emergence of the Divine Five was unmistakable now. The prophecy, woven with secrets and signs, had begun its unstoppable journey to fulfillment. Pushing through the crowded corridor, he barely registered the nods and greetings from colleagues and students.
Hey, Professor.
His black polished leather shoes clicked against the marble floors, a rhythmic counterpoint to his racing thoughts. He could feel the weight of centuries pressing upon him, and a sense of purpose settled in his chest. His focus was singular, fixed on the task that lay ahead. Reaching the parking lot, he found a moment of solitude in his sleek black BMW X5. He slid inside and sat for a moment, collecting himself.
At last, the time has finally come.
Inside the car, Silence blanketed him, a sharp departure from the lively chatter that filled the school grounds. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number known only to a select few. It was answered on the second ring.
It's me. The event we've been waiting for has finally occurred. The Divine Five have revealed themselves.
Clark's voice was controlled, betraying none of the turmoil that churned within.
The prophecy is now officially in motion.
Are you positive it's them?
Yes, they are the ones, I'm positive.
I will let him know.
Understood.
Do not disappoint us.
The line went dead, and relief flooded through him, followed by a renewed sense of purpose. He couldn't afford any mistakes, not now. Thankfully, he had not let the person down on the other end of the phone. He had not failed in his sacred duty. Clark's lips curled into a smile. Ease and satisfaction mingled within him. The wheels had been set in motion. He started the car and pulled out of the parking lot, his thoughts already turning to the path that lay ahead. The Divine Five were mere youths, unprepared for the battle that awaited them or the decisions they would ultimately have to make. They were more or less pawns in a larger plan. As he pondered the unfolding plot, a satisfaction settled within him. The prophecy was underway, and he was now in control.
I will not fail at this mission. I cannot let him down.
Clark knew that the other half of the scroll was crucial to their mission. It holds the key to fully understanding the prophecy and the true identities of who each student really is. As he navigates the winding roads away from the academy, Clark's thoughts turn strategic. He had been preparing for this moment for years, and everything was finally falling into place. The road ahead is not just a path of bringing his home here, but a journey toward a destiny filled with power and the potential for triumph.
I must tread carefully. They are pawns in a much larger game. With their help, I will retrieve the missing piece of our puzzle.
As sunlight reflects off passing cars, it highlights the complexity of Clark's role. While he guides the fulfillment of the prophecy, his personal ambitions weave a complex tapestry with the threads of fate.
The time has come to build my Lord's glorious kingdom here on earth, to fulfill the destiny that has been foretold. The Guardians will play their part, and so will I. I will not fail. I cannot let him down.
As Clark's car merges into the flow of traffic, the atmosphere at Rose Academy is starkly different from the usual bustle. The air, usually vibrant with student laughter and chatter, is quieter today, as if the very sunlight is holding back its warmth, waiting. Outside, Nathan and Elijah exit the building, the weight of their shared vision still pressing heavily upon them. As they walk toward their dorm, discussing the strange events, a sudden chill cuts through the sunlight, making Nathan stop mid-sentence.
Hey, do you feel that?
Elijah looked around, trying to keep his cool.
Yeah, I do. I don't know what it is, but I feel it. It's unnerving.
For a moment, a figure clad in a dark cloak lingered in the shadows cast by the school's architecture, silently watching the two friends.
Over there. Do you see him?
As Nathan points to the fleeting glimpse of a cloaked figure behind one of the school buildings, the chill deepens, as if the air itself is holding its breath. Elijah turned to where Nathan was pointing. However, the figure vanishes as quickly as it appeared, leaving a heavy silence in its wake.
I don't see anything. But you know I believe you. After what we just experienced, anything's possible. We need to stick together.
Back in the now empty classroom, the ancient scroll lies dormant yet seemingly aware, its secrets locked away. Unseen, a faint, almost inaudible whisper seems to emanate from it, a whisper caught only by the walls.
The Guardians awaken.
As the whisper dwindles into silence, our episode draws to a close. What secrets lie behind the mysterious vision? Who was on the other end of Clark's phone call? Who or what was that cloaked figure lurking in the shadows? A protector, a harbinger, or something far more sinister? What else lurks unseen, poised to emerge into the light? Join us next week for Episode 3 on Fate's Guardians, where our heroes begin to face their darkest fears. As the night falls, haunting nightmares and visions of past lives start to plague them, revealing glimpses of their ancient destinies intertwined with the fate of the world. These night terrors will challenge their grasp on reality, as each guardian is forced to confront terrifying truths about themselves. What secrets do these nightmares hold? Are they merely dreams or warnings of what is to come? As they delve deeper into the ancient prophecy that binds them, the Guardians must also face the dangers lurking in the shadows. With each nightmare, the past bleeds more into the present, threading their current lives with threads spun from ancient times. Secrets will unravel, and the very fabric of their souls will be tested. Will the Guardians rise to embrace their roles, or will the shadows cast by their night terrors swallow them whole? Don't miss episode 3 of Fate's Guardians. Subscribe now and leave a review if you're enjoying the journey so far. Remember, in the world of Fate's Guardians, every dream could be a memory, and every nightmare, a glimpse of a past life calling them to their destiny.